Yo guys, what's up? This is Ryan Grady and this is Happy Talks. Today we have the main man Casper. On Instagram he is Today I Learned. That's today.I.learned. I'll put that in the description below. And today we're going to talk about communication, maybe a little bit of dating, relationships, and just what can you do to improve your communication skills, or like just tips to make your communication, your conversations, or any sort of communication go better. So, Casper, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great today, Ryan. Thanks for having me again.
Oh yeah. So I guess we'll start with the first question. So, when it comes to communication or dating or anything like that, what would you say is like the most basic, like first kind of step that you should improve on? Like, what would be if you've like never really thought about like your communication skills and you're like, I feel like when I talk to people, I don't really make that kind of connection that I want to. What would you recommend would be the first thing people should improve?
Okay, great question, Ryan. So I think let's say you feel like you haven't had a connection before, then that's probably because you're not relating to that person well enough, right? Mm-hmm. So how can you relate to that person better? Well, you got to find things you have in common. Things you're maybe both passionate about, or just things you both enjoy doing or think about. So in order to actually get to that point, you need to be attentively listening to what they say. Mm-hmm. And don't listen just basically to make sure you have a reply, so when they're done speaking you can answer, but actually listen, trying to understand what they're saying. Now you can try to connect on a deeper level, and then you can say some of those things back and then try and get in deeper. And then if you're talking about a subject, mm-hmm. you keep diving into that and you actually both really care about that subject, and that's already going to give you a connection.
Yeah, that is some good advice, yeah. Right off the bat, I think commonality is super good because, especially with our friends, like, I don't think a lot of people struggle to talk with like their close friends. You know, you guys you just feel like you always have something to talk about. And I think that's because you guys really have these commonalities, even if it's something small, like, oh, we both went to school together, we both work together. Like, that's a lot of stuff to talk about. And I think that sort of commonality, it will, one, just make it easier to connect. But like, also, what I think I wanted to add was that commonalities will make you feel better about the conversation, because you'll be, one, more interested, so you'll just naturally be more attentive. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100% right.
I got you. Yeah. Boom, yeah. So that one is big. Commonalities. Anything in common, man. So, for example, Casper, what are some like commonalities that you think like are pretty universal? Because for me, I think some universal commonalities that we can always kind of talk about, some of them people say are kind of like cheesy, but like you can always talk about something like the weather or like current news, anything like that. Anything that comes to your mind like that?
I mean, personally, I've really made an effort to always avoid topics like the weather, what do you study. But this is more for dating. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that almost everyone does this, right? So you don't really stand out. And also, let's say you have a conversation of like a few hours with a girl. Mm-hmm. And she has no clue what you're doing, what kind of degree you did, where you studied, where you're from. Yeah. Then later she's going to think about you and she's like, wait, I feel like I know this guy, but I have no clue, like all of these details about it. And then she's going to start thinking, she's going to think more about you, and that will like often trigger something as well.
Yeah, actually, so you're talking about like first interactions, first impressions. Yeah, so I think first impressions is really big for communication.
Yes. But so to get more to your point, you're asking like, what are some basic commonalities we all have, right?
Yeah, or like just what are some that you've used in the past? Like I know one time, super small, but like one of the most interesting interactions I ever had was I was at a bar. My friend was actually trying to talk to this girl's friend that I was talking to, and I was just trying to make some friendly conversation, and she just mentioned something like one-off, like that she had boxing practice earlier, and I had literally started boxing like 2 days before that. So I was just like, oh, that's so cool, like you're doing boxing. And from there, like the conversation just kind of spread, and I was not expecting that at all. So you never know, anything, something like that, you know?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So a few that I've used, usually if you are with a girl or a guy, you can kind of tell if they've traveled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to talk about travel because that usually leads into interesting conversations as well as, where have you been? What was the craziest thing that happened? Which country do you hate the most? Basically, some of the more non-generic stuff, but that a lot of people have experienced. And another one is always like exercise, especially if you're with guys. If you see they go to the gym, you can talk about that.
That's true.
If most guys like some sort of sport. So if you know, like, let's say you have no social skills whatsoever, just learn some of the basics about different sports and you can pretty much talk to most guys, at least for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, man. You know? I love that. Yeah. What I always say is like you can always make friends with the boys if you like sports and beer. That's all you need. And like you can talk for hours just about that.
I think you can even take the sports out, man, if you just like beer.
Yeah, exactly. You just hang out, you're just like, hey man, what you drinking? Oh, that's dope. And like it's crazy, like little conversations like that. Yeah, commonalities, man. I am so glad that was the first thing that came to your mind because that was not what I was thinking of, but like to me, that is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Another thing that I was kind of thinking, anything else you got to add before I move on?
Yeah, one more thing for sure. It's fun that you mentioned the beer because actually, when I'm with guys or girls, I always like to ask them, what's your favorite drink? Or what's your favorite shot? Yeah. And if it's shot, a lot of people either say tequila, and I'm like, I love tequila. Or they say something like vodka, and then I'm like, oh no, how can you be like that? You know, and then that also gets the conversation going. And it's like either it's a positive emotional spike for them, or it's like a more negative one. But it's an emotional spike, you know. It's not like neutral. Okay,
that is a good next point we can talk about. Emotional spikes. Like I'm so glad that you brought that up because it's such a like. I feel like sometimes people talk about this like it's a manipulation tactic, like, oh, like you're creating a little emotional spike, like, oh, you say something nice to her and she's gonna be happy, or like you say something mean and then like she'll like be sad for a second but she'll be happy again. But really like what it's about is just being able to like share your emotions and also like say how you feel. And I think naturally, like if you're really having a natural conversation, you're going to have like emotional spikes every so often. Like you're going to tell a little joke, you'll feel happy. And you know, like, I don't know if you kind of mean, but like we kind of talk about this thing called like the baseline, which is like, you know, how you normally feel all the time. You might feel like pretty good normally, but like every so often, like something really funny will happen. You'll just be like, ha, and like you'll feel really good for a second, and then you'll normally you won't necessarily go back to being sad, but you'll come down and you'll be like at that kind of baseline, and like that's kind of what makes life fun, you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's what makes it interesting, right? Like if you live your whole life from the baseline, then you won't notice anything that's happening at that level. So you either notice deviations from it that are like downward or upward.
Yeah, for sure.
And like you said, like in any conversation, you will have those naturally. And I think, I could see the point of it being manipulative, but you could also see it as you're trying to give yourself and the girl the best time possible.
Exactly.
Because if you do that, you have a way better time. And as long as you're not like fully taking advantage of her or like creating some evil master plan. And I think both of you are actually having that time together, forming a deeper bond because of it, and then also getting into deeper topics because she's more emotionally open to it. Then I think that's a great thing.
No, yeah, man. Like another thing, now that I just thought of it, is that especially with girls, like especially like in dating in general, like you really want to have trust with a person. Like even if you're just kind of going on one date just for fun, or even if you're just hanging out with your friends, like trust is so important. And I think when you're able to go through, especially like I'd call it like a negative emotional spike, you know, like a quick little, like maybe you say something about their hair, you're like, hey, I don't really like your hair. Like they'll be like, oh, what the hell? But then like, you know, you'll just be like, oh, sorry, you know, and then like it'll come back to normal. You're creating that trust that like we can go through like tough times and we can still be friends. We can still be here for each other. You know, we can still date. We can still care for each other. That kind of thing.
I mean, it's amazing that you say that. That's also, in a way, a massive manipulation technique that's used worldwide to create like strong bonds amongst people. So they use that in cults. They use that in the army. Think of Navy SEAL Hells or Hell Week, for example. They use it in fraternities. Like people going through suffering together creates one of the strongest emotional bonds.
Dude, yes, that is so true. Yeah, that is so true. It's kind of weird. Yeah, but like, so don't go out like looking to like hurt people. But like, I think
no, you should both, like, to create a bond. I think you both need to experience the suffering. Like, yes, you also have I think it's a fact they've seen with hostages, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they fall in love with the people who's holding them, the person who's holding them.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because it's just like, it's such a crazy emotional experience. Like, I don't know, emotions are such a complicated thing. Like, you really can't control them. Like, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but like, if you ever heard someone say this, like, there's just something about her or him that like I really like, and what that normally probably is just like how they feel. Like, you can't control that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know exactly what's wrong.
Yeah, man. Communication. There's so many like little pieces to it, and really, I don't think that we need to like try to like use these as like tactics all the time, but I think it's good to be aware of those things and like look back at conversations you've had where you felt kind of like the other person wasn't that interested, and look to see like, were you being like too boring? Did you hold back too many times? Especially like on what you talked about at the beginning, like, did you not search for commonalities? A lot of the times we'll just kind of ask people about themselves, and a lot of the time we'll forget that like, hey, I'm part of this conversation too. Like, for example, someone might even say something that you have no idea about. Like, say like they're really into movies and you have no idea about movies. You could be like, oh, that's really cool. Like, can you tell me about that? And like, maybe you'll find out that like there is something that you know about that once like you talk a little deeper.
Yeah, for sure. And wait, I lost my...
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just kind of going on a rant there. Like, sometimes that happens, man. Like, sometimes you'll just be talking and everything will get awkward. And that's actually, in a way, like something kind of fun and unique to go through together. I think it creates like kind of a bond, actually. So last point, and I'll let you talk. Sorry. Don't be afraid of awkward experiences.
I think it's great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, see, man, I love you. In a weird way, man. I love you, Casper. You're the man, man.
The fact of you bringing this up made me feel like super comfortable again, and now I feel more connected. So you know what you're doing.
Oh shit! Okay, this is what we're talking about, man. Casper, you're the man. That's what we're talking about. Anything else that's coming to your mind? Did you remember your thought? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Oh yeah. I think I got it.
Okay, here we go, guys.
Basically, you can look at it two ways, right? You can look at it as if, oh yeah, you're trying to manipulate someone, or you can look at it as, no, you're becoming a better person. You're becoming better at conversing. People actually enjoy their time with you more, and yeah, you become aware of it. And sometimes you may use it consciously, but that works two ways. Like if someone tries to use this against you, like with that intention, then you will also recognize this, and then you can actually basically save yourself in a sense. Yes,
exactly. That is true. Yeah, that is very true. Yeah.
And back to that point, I think the intention is really what matters. If you have bad intentions, if you see a girl and you think like, oh, I want to take her home tonight, I want to treat her awful, just get her to my place, and then that's it. Then I think, relation. If you think like, oh, I like that girl, I'm going to use my new and improved social skills to have a conversation with her, connect with her, and maybe have some fun, then I think it's good. I think it's great. And the girl probably has a better time because of it too,
Yeah, man. That's how I feel, man. Like people and connecting, it's just kind of like, it is what it is. And like a lot of the time, like using these kind of social skills, people are gonna see that you're normal. Like this. Let me try to say what I'm trying to say. Like these sort of like, as we call them, social skills. In my opinion, that's just how we act when we feel comfortable. Like that's how we act normally. So if you want to be comfortable in a conversation, if you want other people to feel comfortable, then like actually like even actively using these kind of tricks, I guess, like say like you're purposely like, saying some stupid comment to make someone laugh, or like get someone like, what did that guy just say that? Like using like those kind of things, it's actually going to make the conversation more comfortable, more realistic, because if I don't think anyone can like even look into this podcast, I don't think that we can really have a full conversation like for say like 30-40 minutes without some sort of like weird blip or like mistake or something like that,
Yeah, for sure.
For sure, yeah. Let me see. Communication. It's there's so much to it, man. There's so many things to it. It's just a deep.
Yeah, I would like to add one more thing.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
That goes back to the point you made, or you just made, and that's I don't believe anyone innately is a really bad speaker. I think if you put almost anyone in a group of people that they're comfortable with, and that could be either their best friends or their close family, and you have them talk about something that they're truly passionate about, and they're going to give a great speech or like a great monologue or whatever.
Yes.
The trick is to be able to do that when you're with strangers talking about something you're not passionate about or you're not knowledgeable.
For sure, man. For sure. Yeah, and like I think we're just so comfortable. Yeah.
Little tricks.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, the tricks. Yeah, like the tricks in a way, they're just kind of tools to like kind of start up the conversation. I think after you've known someone for like at least like a week or something, that you really shouldn't try to like actively use tricks. You should just talk how you talk, because you're normally just going to have a good conversation. However, if you do feel like it's getting kind of boring, you can try some things. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but I would actually like to take that one step further, right?
For sure, man.
So for me, my social skills and my social game in a conversation would be terrible. And I started using these tricks a little bit to basically have some things to say or know what to do in certain situations. And as I started using them more, I actually stopped thinking about using them at all. And now I find myself sometimes doing them, but not being aware of it. It's now actually become part of my natural way of speaking, let's say.
Yeah, because it just is. It just is how we naturally talk, Like, think about how you talk with your parents, like, especially with your parents. If you have a good relationship with your parents, sometimes you're going to be like, Mom, what the fuck are you doing? Or your parents are going to say the same thing to you. And, like, you might not necessarily say that to some girl you're trying to date. But, you're close and you're comfortable with your parents. So that kind of thing could happen.
Yes.
For sure, man. Yeah. Man, that's crazy. That is crazy. Like, this right here is just kind of a baseline. This little talk we're having is just kind of a baseline for conversation. Just, like, what you kind of want to get to. And actually, one thing that I just thought of is that, like, I think if you're listening to this and you feel like, oh, I really, like, never have an idea what to say in a conversation, like, or even, like, if you do sometimes, but, like, it depends on the situation, like, say, like, you're talking to, like, a girl or, like, someone that you really, like, admire, and, like, it can be hard to, like, come up with something to say. You just feel, like, lost. What a lot of people kind of use generally is something like, say, a pickup line, like, just be like, hey, are you from, like, are you an astronaut? Because your ass is out of this world. I don't know, something like that. Because, when they have a line, at least you feel kind of, like, safe. You're like, I know what to say. So instead of using those, I would urge you to try to just, like, come up with, like, a little bit original, but, like, something along the lines of, like, finding a commonality. So, like, literally what he's talking about traveling, like, if you see someone with, like, say you're traveling, or, like, say you're in your home country and you see someone with, like, a shirt from, like, say like the Philippines or something, and you're like, hey, I went to the Philippines last week. I'll ask this person about the Philippines. Something like that, you know? Anyway. Yeah, man.
Just find some commonality. It could be super simple.
Mm-hmm.
You could even walk up to them and say, "Oh, I like your shoes."
Yeah, man. Because hey, they probably like their shoes too. That is a good one. That is a good one right there. And boom, best friends for life. I don't know, man. Some of like the best conversations I've had have just been with some like drunk men in the club, just like talking complete. Like I have no idea what they're talking about, but like, you know, at least we have one commonality. Like we'll be like, "Yo, Guinness" or something. And we'll be like, "Guinness," and just something like that, man.
Drunk.
Yeah, man. It happens, man. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Just communication, like the world. Just the number one thing, man. Just never give up. Like never think that you're doomed to communicate, because like it's really a skill for everyone. Even people that you would say are like naturally good at it, they probably just had a lot of opportunity when they were younger to practice, and they probably never really had a sort of experience that made them like kind of taken back and a little more like shy to talk to people.
Yes. And I would actually like to add on to that
oh yeah,
there's probably some people that are not naturally that gifted at speaking, or let me say social situations, right? Like being either with a girl or just like in front of a group of people. And then they think, oh, it's so unfair that this person basically was born with that.
Yeah.
But it's actually not like that. If anything, you have an advantage. Because you're not born with all of those things, you have to learn them, and then you'll actually be aware of all the things you're doing. So someone who's been a good speaker their whole life, they just do it naturally, but it's hard for them to improve because they don't really know what they know and what they don't know.
They're just kind of doing what they're doing. Yeah,
little detail yourself, then you know exactly what you think you're like somewhat good at, and then you also know which areas you're not good at. So you're a lot more self-aware.
Yeah,
because of that, you can actually become a great speaker.
Dude, that is so true. Yeah, that is so true, man. Yes.
Let me give you an example. I was in Taiwan a couple of months ago, and we went to this startup event. And there was this speaker, and he was a great speaker. I think he was in his 50s or 60s, and he was hyping up the whole crowd. And then I think Kevin from Shark Tank came to speak, and he basically hyped up the crowd for like 3 hours to introduce this superstar, basically. Yeah. And I thought, oh man, he was a US guy. He was doing an amazing job. I thought, oh, this guy is a great speaker. And then he said that he's actually an introvert.
Wow.
And if you think about introverts, you usually think, oh, they're not great speakers. And then he just, in his story, he said that, I just practiced a lot, and then now I can also do this, and you can too. And that's, I think, exactly the way it is.
For sure, man, yeah. I think, if anything, what you need to take away from this, and I think I'm kind of feeling us like wrapping it all up. That was a really great story to end on. I think what you need to take away from this whole thing is that like communication is a skill, and like you have to practice it, and it can be scary sometimes, but like hopefully if you have a little bit of like a roadmap, some tips, like what you should be trying to do, like say make commonalities, like just embrace the awkwardness, embrace like the ups and the downs, then you're probably going to be fine. Long term, you're going to be fine. And you might have some really awkward moments. Like, I mean, like we've had some awkward moments in this talk, but it's all real. It's all real. It's all communication. Anything you got to add before we head off, Casper?
Or life is not perfect, like you said. So there's always going to be ups and downs, and that's also going to happen in your conversations. And I mean, also for the girl, she's also going to make stupid comments, and then she'll be thinking like, oh, why did I just say that? He must think I'm like this and that. And everyone has that, So you're not alone, and it's no real reason to worry about that.
Man, Casper, you are golden, man. Everyone, if you need some real good dating advice, hit up my man Casper. Today I learned on Instagram. We're going to put that in the comments below. Have a great day, everyone. Remember, it might be hard to talk to people right now, but keep this in the back of your mind. As soon as this situation is over, man, and we're all out there and we're all talking again, trust me, guys, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna be ready. Like I'm itching. I'm ready to just go out and talk to people and make some friends, man. But yeah, man, on Instagram too. Talk to some people. Make some new friends. Practice it. It'll be all good. Anyway, guys, peace out.
Peace.